Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our today's webinar.
Good morning. Hi.
We would like to take the opportunity, what we have, to explain a little bit about Herco, what we're doing, who we are, basically within the next 60 minutes or so.
Exactly. So we'll try to be a bit faster, then you have some room for questions as well. And yeah, we'll start right off with the agenda. Okay.
There we are. The agenda for today's webinar is, of course, to present first Herco as a company, then go to the RO basics and the applications connected with RO, then our specific RO series. We thought about giving you an example on case studies, projects which we did in the past in the 4th chapter. And in the 5th and last chapter, we would like to make an outlook for upcoming sales training, which we want to give as a webinar as well by the end of July, so next month. Who are we? First, my name is Axel Wichmann. As you see here on the slide, I joined Herco this January. I have 20 years experience in sales and after sales, in direct and indirect distribution. Of that, 15 years experience in power plant, power industry, with a focus on water steam cycles. The past 6 years, I was responsible for sales at a company for industrial supplies. And in that company, we had quite a large distribution network, even larger than this of Herco.
Okay, and you've probably seen me from other webinars already. My name is Birgit Fabricius. I'm responsible for product management since 2019. And I've been working for 14 years in water and wastewater treatment with, for example, previously in the automotive industry, food and beverage, pulp and paper, and other projects as well. Yeah, currently I'm working for product management also on new markets. Some of you know about that already, like hydrogen, like food and beverage, pharmaceutical plants as well. And of course, I'm always looking for new technologies, whether they be RO or otherwise. We also have René with us, who you all know, but he's behind the camera this time. So if you want to send something to the chat, he'll answer.
Let me add, if you have questions, please anytime feel free to leave us a comment, and our technical support, René Scholz in the background, is then giving us an update if we are rushing too quick through the slides, okay? Wow, here we are, a very impressive history of Herco. I don't want to go through all the dates shown on this slide, but basic Herco was founded by Willy Hermann in 1947 already, when the company started. That's where the name Herco comes from. And as a company, we fairly quickly, from today's perspective, went into the membrane technology, 78 to be precise. The next time point I want to stress is that we extended our production facility here. You will see later a picture of the new production facility, which has been created or built in 2003, I'm sorry, with 2,200 square meter in capacity. Herco was then bought by the Pollitt Group in 2006. So we are more than 14 years, almost 15 years to date, already part of the Pollitt Group. The point, let me see, yes, Herco Medical is worth to mention that we, as a second business unit, the first slide was that we are divided as a Herco, a special function of Herco within the Pollitt Group. We have two divisions here in our location. One is the industrial side, which you see starting from 78. And then in 2019, we founded, or the group founded, the Herco Medical division to address our medical business, which we are having since early 2000s. Yeah. And last but not least, in the 2001, we have with Edwin Locker a new CEO, which I believe most of you know already.
Okay, so just a quick history. We have a long history, but we are also changing a lot of things right now this year. Maybe some of you know already. And because of all the new things we started, we also decided to think again about our vision and our mission, and to give ourselves a new vision and mission that we're all happy with. What we came up with in the end was what we really care about is to shape the future of our planet, of our blue planet, so because of the water. And for us, it's important to be motivated by sustainability. We're going to go into that when we see the different plans also. So let's say saving of resources is very important for us. Well, our passion is really technology. So we like to do good plans, and we like to do plans with really high technology. You'll see that in the case histories. And what is very important for us, and this is, I think, also an important point in our interactions with the Polit Group, is to have a partnership as the foundation. With you as our partners, as our clients, also with our suppliers, and also internally, let's say, looking at the employees. Okay, I'm not going to read the mission to you. That would be boring, but you can have a look. And yeah, I hope you agree with us, with the mission and the vision we formulated. Or if you have any comments, feel free to comment.
Here we are, some facts and figures about us as Herco. As previously mentioned, reverse osmosis is one of our key products, but we're not only doing reverse osmosis. It is very important for me to get that across to you today. We are doing ultrafiltration, ultra-pure water, softeners, filters of any kind, brown down controllers, dosing units, mixed bed, water demineralization cartridges, etc., etc. So we have really a wide band of products which we offer around the main topic, water treatment in general. Yeah. Managing directors, I mentioned it 2 slides before, Edwin Locker with the co-managing director, Frédéric de Jaegre. Most likely you know him as well. Employees, 70 full-time employees. In fact, we are more than 70, but some of them are part-time, so 70 full-time employees. The turnover of Herco as an internal sales, not external, is about 15 million euros currently, and growing. The certification, what we have here at our facility, is of course mandatory, the 9001, as well as the 13485 for the medical products. And as we are a European country, a European manufacturer, we have the CE certificate mandatory. The market access is for the water treatment professionals, plant manufacturers, large OEMs, and of course you as our sister company from the Polit Group, whether it is water or medical. Our current export ratio is only 30%. We want to change that. So you see 70% is domestic and German-speaking countries like Austria and Switzerland. We offer for students and others some internship, and we of course have some knowledge center, you say, exactly, for industrial and electronical personnel. Yeah. And a specialty, we have offering dual studies here for mechanical and electrical engineering.
Okay.
You want to take this?
Go ahead, feel free.
So mentioning that we doing not just only reverse osmosis, which is in the center. This is just a sketch to show what broad products we offer to our partners, to our sister companies. So it starts with softening units, so pre-treatment, the reverse osmosis, storage tanks of any kind, any specification, and then last but not least, some periphery, some booster pumps wherever it is necessary, or some polishers or whatsoever. Innovation is something what drives us here at Herco. You saw already the new design of this presentation of the webinar. So we are trying to work on all types of fields in having proper documentation for you available. For example, standard business, some customized plans, some trailer plans, some containerized water treatment. All is possible by our engineering, which is, by the way, I think I forget to mention it, 13 people are working in our technical department for you as our partners. So highly qualified experts, development engineers in-house, project engineers, which are located in our technical department for our projects, on the industrial side, but as well on the medical side. Yeah, we have instrumentation and control engineers for individual configuration of PLC controllers, like our S7, for example. Design of construction of standard and customized plans is very important to maybe you or some partners of ours for winning an order, a project at the end customer, to have proper sales documentation. Then we have here with Birgit product management, now working really as a project management. It's for me personally a great support which we are having in the sales department to structure a little bit the needs of the market, to set priorities, and we as a sales team can focus really on you guys. The privilege I had at the beginning of the year to acquire somebody in marketing. We have a lady, Svinda Rupp, now on board as well for marketing and marketing activities. So she's behind all the new brochures you see here, mainly the new layout you see in the presentation that comes all of out of her hands, and the corporate design from our headquarters.
Exactly.
Yeah? So it is basically, we want to give you more support in the future regarding facts, regarding sales documentation, etc. That's why we have there XXX. Leave us a comment if you are in need of documentation, so that I can forward that to Svinda Rupp. Last but not least, important these days, documentation. So we have own engineers for documentation, which assure that we are complying with European regulations of any kind, whether it is medical or industrial, we have to comply. And we make sure with those engineers working in the documentation department. Wow, a nice picture. UN containerized water treatments here. It is some years ago that this picture was taken, but anyway, it shows our large production hall, which is categorized in different locations like mechanical assembly, electronic assembly, etc., etc. This was a large project for the UN water treatment containerized, which then can be shipped out to various locations around the world. After sales, René Scholz in our background giving technical support is part of the after sales team and is here showing what type of controller is that? It's an older one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's an older one.
All
I cannot see now, it's so small, probably Aero Digital or 1000.
Anyway.
Probably 1000, right?
It's just a picture saying what we can offer as Herco and the after sales is, of course, the assistance of assembly and installation, commissioning of the plant technology, instruction of the operating personnel from the end customer, of course, a training here at the Herco Academy where we are right now. We have a consulting hotline, which is quite overrun from time to time. So please be patient if somebody is not answering right away. We have a lot of customers using that hotline. Remote monitoring and remote control is getting more and more important for customers in Germany, but of course, out of Germany, in Europe, and in the rest of the world. As we are sparing travel times, we are there right with a click. Maintenance and maintenance contract are important. I don't know if it is important for you as well, so please leave me a comment. For our German-speaking countries, it is very, very important to have maintenance contracts upfront, so where we agree on reaction times, on availabilities, spare parts, etc., etc. And wherever possible, repair and service in general.
Okay, and we also have the Academy. You probably have all participated, or most of you, in some previous webinars, and you maybe have been here even for an on-site training. So yeah, René has done a lot of work with the Academy that we offer online and on-site trainings. Of course, since 2020, with all the Corona topic, we offer more online trainings probably than on-site. There are beginner courses. A lot of that we do now as a webinar, which has the advantage that you don't have to travel here and you can save time but get all the information. But there are also advanced courses here, directly working with the plants, working with equipment, briefing on purchased equipment. For example, if you do a factory test and as part of the test you also want some instructions, so we can do that as well. And of course, information on technology in general and the required background knowledge to also sell the plants well and to know what you want to use for which problem, let's say.
Maybe we can mention that I'm not aware if you know, everybody of you know, that all these courses and webinars which we did in the past are available on our YouTube channel, Herco Academy.
Exactly. So that's very useful. If you missed anything, you can always look it up. And yeah, if you have any questions about some personal training or the topics or dates, you can always talk to René. His contact details are here. And you see also that we've done a lot of free webinars already since last year on various topics like data, nanofiltration, and so on. And I think we show here the channel also.
Yeah, that's the channel I was just mentioning. Please, we have 50 people, I think more than 50 people registered for this webinar here. And we have only 22 subscribers for our channel yet. So I think we have 50 more subscribers soon.
Exactly.
No, just kidding, just kidding.
Yeah, still it would be nice, right? So feel free.
But we are far away from being an influencer right now. Huh?
Well, maybe we should offer some, I don't know, make a raffle or something. Maybe you can win a plant or whatever. Small one.
Good idea, by the way.
We'll think about it.
Here, yes, our YouTube channel from the Herco Academy. René, is it called Herco Wassertechnik or Herco Academy? Herco Wassertechnik. So forget Herco Academy. Herco Wassertechnik is the right YouTube channel to choose, where you have to subscribe. Thank you for your subscription. Then, of course, our website. As I said, with Swinder Rupp on board, we will change to completely in the second half of the year, more or less, our presence on the website. Much more information should be available. Easy access for information on our website is a must to my belief, and we get this feedback from German partners and even from sister companies as you. that we should improve our website. Mandatory today is not be only available on YouTube, but have a presence on social media, have a network. Most of you guys, if I'm not mistaken, might not know Xing. Xing is a German-based platform, very important in German-speaking countries like Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Very powerful social media. And then internationally very well known is LinkedIn. So we are posting content on both social platforms regarding our webinars, regarding relevant information. If you have any idea what might be interesting to share on the social media channels of Herco, please leave us a comment in the comment section. I really appreciate it to get input from you guys. Then to our next chapter, RO Basic and Applications.
Exactly. So now we have told you a lot about ourselves and the company. Now we'll go into the technical part. Stay with us, okay? It's not very, very technical. I think you had some very good courses also with Johan about reverse osmosis. Since we want to talk today mostly about, let's say, the sales side, we're just going to go into the technical topics really shortly. So just basically, what is reverse osmosis? Reverse osmosis comes from osmosis, really, from the osmotic effect, which is if you have two compartments, different water and different concentrations of ions, salts, and these compartments are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, then you will have a water flow through this membrane until you reach an equilibrium. And this equilibrium is reached when the hydrostatic pressure on one side equals the osmotic pressure on the other side. So basically, water flows from the dilute compartment to the concentrated compartment until the pressure of the higher water level equals the osmotic pressure that is given by the salts. So this happens all the time. Maybe you have seen also René's famous presentation with the cherries that are splitting, or I think Johan uses that example as well. So that's an osmotic effect as well, in that case caused by the sugar in the cells. What we do with the reverse osmosis is basically we reverse this process by applying pressure. So you see, you have the compartment C1 with a higher concentration, that is our feed, and we apply pressure until water flows from C1, the concentrate solution, to C2, the dilute solution. We need a pressure that is high enough to overcome the osmotic pressure. And this means that, and as the osmotic pressure depends on the salt concentration, our required pressure for the high pressure pump also depends on the salt concentration, salt content, which is usually measured as total dissolved solids, or TDS. Now you see this in the next slide as a proper RO unit as you know it. You get, you have a feed water, you have a high pressure pump, you have an RO module, and in the RO module, water passes the semi-permeable membrane and leaves the unit as permeate, and the remaining water is that's left over is the concentrate. This goes to wastewater connection, what you see here at the bottom, or in some cases, you need to recycle the concentrate back into the feed, since you need a certain flow velocity over the reverse osmosis module to avoid scaling or fouling. We'll not go into details here, but we'll talk later about a sales training that we want to offer in July. And there you will also have a bit more about these basic topics.
Yes, correct.
What we want to show you here now is only two key performance indicators, because that's important later when we explain about our plant series. And that is the yield of the reverse osmosis. That is basically how much permeate flow you get from a certain feed flow. Let's say you have a feed flow of 1 cubic meter per hour, 1000 liters per hour, and you get a permeate of 750 liters per hour. That would be a yield of 75%. This is a typical yield of a standard RO unit. And if we go to high recovery ROs, the yield is more like 85 to 95%. But we'll look into that later. The other important factor is the salt rejection, or salt retention also called sometimes. The salt rejection of a standard RO unit is usually in the range of, let's say, 97%. It's basically how much salt is retained in the concentrate. So here it's expressed as 1 minus salt in permeate divided by salt in feed. You could also write salt in concentrate divided by salt in feed. So how much of the salt that you want to take out is really retained by the unit. Here we also have the option to have, for example, high rejection membranes. With the high rejection membranes, you will reach higher values, 98.5, 99 or higher. That depends, of course, on what you need to achieve in your permeate. Okay, and this is already the last slide for the basics, let's say. So generally speaking, our units have the yield and the salt rejection that I just told you about. But in many cases, if we want to save water, for example, we want a higher yield. So with the UOS7 KR series that we will show later in a bit more detail, you have a concentrate staged RO, and the second stage has nanofiltration membranes, and you get the permeate from this second stage back in the feed water. It has more or less the same quality as the feed, which means you actually recycle this permeate to the front and therefore need less feed water and increase your yield from 75 to up to 90%. The other option, if it is, for example, the water quality is not so good and we need a high salt rejection, higher than normally, we use a permeate staged RO. That's our NDP series. Then we have 2 stages with 2 high pressure pumps in order to get the pressure that is needed for each stage. And the permeate from the first stage goes onto the second stage so that it's still increased. So the salt rejection is increased. The concentrate from the second stage, which is a pretty clean flow anyway, goes back to the feed in order to increase the recovery or the yield as well. With this arrangement, salt rejection can be increased from 97 to 99%, let's say, which doesn't sound like much, but which, let's say, decreases salt concentration in the permeate by a third. So typical values would be, for example, for standard plants to have less than 20 microsiemens per centimeter in the permeate. Okay. For NDP plants, you would have less than, let's say, 5 microsiemens per centimeter. This you can also see in our catalog.
Well, and for which type of application we mainly are partnering up for the different industries is, of course, large cooling towers, cooling water, boiler feed water is important application for reverse osmosis. Then, of course, wherever you need low salt concentration, like surface technology, automotive cleaning, etc., are using reverse osmosis. Then ultra pure water for pharmaceutical applications. Yeah, for example, our vaccinations are using water treatment of reverse osmosis, power plants, and of course, electronic industry like chips and all types of computer components use treated water with a RO. Then product water washing of foods, and of course in the beverage industry we need water treatment. Then in for air conditioning, humidifiers, air washers, and humidifier systems for air conditioning, and then of course brackish water and seawater desalination, as well as the main areas, not so, but main areas where we partner up with our RO units.
Exactly.
Then you see here some sketches of fields of activities of Herco. The first one should be, yes, the cooling water, make-up water for the cooling tower in a very high quality, more cycles of concentration possible, which saves at the end for the user water and of course cost savings then for him at the end.
Okay, another area is boiler feed water. here, especially for high pressure boilers, you need also a high feed water quality, so not just softener, but RO. This protects the boiler, increases the lifetime, and reduces also the operation cost. For larger boilers, or let's say power plants, really, you need also ultra pure water units, because the higher the pressure, the lower the contamination of the makeup water can be. So there, usually RO and EDI units, so our UP series, are used.
The next topic where I always wondered how this is working is washing surface technology in the regards of painting process, car washing, etc., etc. So there you have mainly single stage reverse osmosis, and of course in the automotive industry, where you have painting, wet painting to be precise, all types of substances are not allowed and are then kept out with the reverse osmosis systems.
Exactly, and there we also offer the rinsing of the reverse osmosis to make sure that you don't have any substances from the components we use in the unit. Okay, another option, ultra pure water for pharmaceutical or lab applications, for power plants and microelectronics. That's typically a UP unit. So RO and EDI, maybe also membrane degassing or membrane contactors, they're also called, if CO2 needs to be removed. And in this case, we often need also a polisher at the end in order to maintain the very high, very low conductivity, which corresponds to high resistivity. So if you have a tank, for example, after the EDI, you might need a polisher after the tank.
And of course, mentioned on the slide before as well, food and beverage, which use water in their products, need to be of very high standard, comply with the EU regulations. Yeah, the hygienic design requirements of the equipment requires no dead zones. I think that is the proper explanation. Stainless steel wherever possible, clamp connection certification, documentation, very important for this units. And we usually use for this application high recovery RO, like the car RS7.
Exactly.
Which we see later on the slide.
Yeah. So, and last but not least, humidifier systems for office buildings, factories, and so on. There we have a special RO series, which is the UEDZ, which is a counter pressure series. So that means you can use it in a building, for example, to provide water to different levels. You don't need a tank, so you have less microbial contamination, and you have enough pressure from the unit that you can provide water in a wide pressure range. Are always required because one needs demineralized water to avoid contamination and, most importantly, scaling of the system.
So that leads us now to the third chapter, Herco RO series, which we want to address only 2 units, I think.
Exactly.
Which we reworked.
That's right.
So here you see the Herco product, you see the Herco price list. It should be available to all of you. If not, please leave us a comment and we will try to resolve that together with you. So the 3 large segments of our product portfolio is the pretreatment, so filters, sand, iron removal, activated carbon or multimedia. For those, softeners, cabinet, simplex, duplex, sensor controlled. And the ultrafiltration as a pretreatment for the reverse osmosis wherever necessary. Then, of course, the reverse osmosis, the permeate and concentrate stirred RO units. Birgit was mentioning already a little bit about the technology. The ultra pure water units, so the reverse osmosis with the electro deionization unit afterwards, or a polisher afterwards, and the RO units with anti-scaling, dosing, brackish, and seawater desalinations. Accessories, we do have quite a few of options, but I don't want to mention them all. It would take us a little bit too far. Tanks, blowdown systems, and mix that water, Demin cartridges, distillos we call them, and many other things.
Exactly. And as you can see in the chat, we have the catalog on the internet as well. And I think Wendy puts in a lot of work also to include the systems in the master catalog. So thanks, Wendy. We take this occasion to say thanks. All right. We'll not go into a lot of detail on the series because that's going to take too much time. I think we're already a bit late. But we just want to show you a little bit. So we have, let's say, 3 blocks of series. We have our standard units. That's what you see here. Reverse osmosis units, you can see from the color of the blocks which controller these systems use. And these standard units, those are usually for softened water, for a maximum TDS, so salt content in the feed of 1000 milligrams per liter. Usually, if you use drinking water, you won't be so high, but that's because we have a bit of reserve there. But this is basically where you are. We have a permeate recovery of 75 to 80%. 75 is what we guarantee. But of course, it depends a bit on the water quality. So if your TDS is lower, you can also have a higher recovery, no problem. That's why we write 75 to 80%. And just very, on average, in general, the electrical conductivity in the permeate would be typically lower than 20 microsiemens per centimeter, typically, okay? We have here a few units. What is, I think, interesting to mention for you is that the small units, so the second block from the top you see here, UO and UO Digital, those are available fast track. So we built this from stock. We have them here in our on-site, ready and waiting. And if you order that with a remark fast track, you can get them ready for delivery 1 or 2 days later here, and they can be shipped to your facility. I think that's very important if, I don't know, something goes wrong with the client and he needs a unit very fast. So it's quite useful. We have Combi series also, Softener Plus RO. And then we have our counter pressure systems that we mentioned just now, the UO-EDZ. And we have the very, very general UO that we sell a lot, UO-DND, which goes up to 12 cubic meters per hour and is the, let's say, the workhorse, the system that we use very often. Okay, now those were the standard series, but sometimes you need advanced series. So for example, here we have a water saving unit, that's the KR. We have a unit with a very low conductivity, that's the UP series, that's RO plus EDI. And we have, let's say, in between the double stage, the NDP series, which gives you a lower conductivity than normal. So instead of 20 microsiemens per centimeter, you rather go down to 5 microsiemens per centimeter. But it's not as, let's say, technically complicated and therefore also a bit more economical than the UP series. So basically you have 3 stages here depending on your requirements. Of course, the UP series, if you need really ultra pure water, you will always need an EDI or a polisher. And last but not least, we have the systems that are not for softened water, but for anti-scale use. If, for example, softening doesn't make sense because your volume is just too large or it's not available on your location, you don't want to use so much salt, then you can use an anti-scale system. It also goes up to 30 cubic meters per hour. We have also built larger systems. And here, finally, we have also our brackish and seawater systems. You have seen the different colors here. This is basically about which controller the system has, with which controller it's available as standard or as option. And we'll go right away to have a look quickly at the different controllers. We have as controllers the RO 524. Those of you who use the small units might know this one. This is a very basic controller, but also very robust and economical one, where you cannot change much, but that's sometimes an advantage if the client cannot do anything with the controller, you know, because he also cannot do anything wrong. So these are basic series. This is used for the budget unit, the undersink unit, and the small UO and 120 to 500. Then we have our controllers, RO 1000 and RO 5000. That was the nice plant you saw with René before in one slide. These are controllers that were quite advanced when we started with them, but now we have started to replace them because they have limited parameter settings and only mechanical measuring of flow. And these two are currently in use for the NDP series, for the brackish water and seawater series, so SV and BV. And they will be completely replaced by 2022. So next year with a new price list, we will convert everything to either RO digital or to PLC controllers. Because the systems are a bit older, are 1000 and 5000. At some point we have to switch to newer systems. Okay, RO digital, that's what most of our plants have. That's our very, very reliable, useful microprocessor controller. You have digital sensors, you can see the data, you have data storage also. You can set all the parameters basically, and with the Profinet interface, you can also transfer data to, let's say, PLC system of the client. So this is the most general controller we have right now. And we have always used for certain project or customized plans a PLC because that's often required by the client. And now we have started to offer our two, let's say, most sophisticated series, the KR and the UP, with a PLC as a standard. So we'll show that in a bit. And we also have the option for the ND and AS and NDP series to choose a PLC as an upgrade. Okay, options. I don't want to go into all of this because this is lots of information.
Very complex, yes.
Very complex information. We'll definitely do that in July. But what is interesting for you, because that has changed from last year, is we have always offered Profinet. We also offered the other interfaces, but now we wanted to make it more visible and to put it in our catalog. So we can do Profinet connections for you. We can do Profibus, Modbus, RTU, and TCP, and BACnet. So we have a lot of options. And depending on your requirements, we can always offer you some good solution to integrate your system in the system of the client for control. And we have also done before design in PP, but in this catalog, we for the first time offer it with a generalized price increase so that you know already, okay, what would the PP version instead of PVC cost? If you have special requirements there, well, you let us know. We will also try to do that for stainless steel at some point, which is a bit more complicated to implement, but we're working on it.
We are seriously working on it right now.
Exactly. Okay, so now you go.
Now it's my turn again. As mentioned before, we are just concentrating on this unit here. We adapted it, this CAR unit already to the S7 from Siemens controller, PLC controller. We did a webinar to that, if I'm not mistaken, too. So if you want to know more about the unit, about the technology behind it, you're very free to go to our YouTube channel and pull up the corresponding webinar or video there. Some very general characteristics here on the slide. That we have a low water consumption, that we have variable frequency drives, that we have with that 30% reduction in energy consumption, etc., etc. Yeah, and you see on the right side here a new flyer from our marketing department, really stating and underlining the USPs of that unit, so that you have something to show to your customer. And if you want, that will be addressed during our sales meeting specifically as well, but I can mention it so far already here, that it is available with your logo if you want.
Exactly. That can be also very useful. We can also send you with a handout of this webinar, the flyer, so you can have a look.
Yeah, that is a good idea. So here you see some what were you, OPEX costs, I think is a proper term, on the right hand side. So if you just compare the CAR R unit with the standard reverse osmosis unit that you are significantly increasing the yield from 75 to 90%. And doing that, you are really saving in 10 years time operating this unit just in water almost 300,000 euro. And that's not taking into consideration the costs for electricity, which you save as well on top.
So if you want to have more information, you can have a look at the webinar we did, which is on the YouTube channel. And you will also find the information in the brochure that we sent you. Okay, the other series that we did rework this year was the UP. So we have also done a webinar on that. Maybe you have seen it as well. So lots of webinars you can see.
Yeah, advertisement.
Exactly. And yeah, we have talked a lot in the webinars about the PLC functions, that you have a lot more functionality, a lot more settings. You can change the plant afterwards. So we're not going to repeat that today. As I said, I think we're running short on time already. But what is important for you, you have a lot of new options. It makes your life easier. It makes control of the plant a lot easier. And what is important apart from the PLC is we have changed the footprint a lot, because we use for quite a few of the units, instead of horizontal pressure vessels, now vertical pressure vessels. And that means we have achieved significant reduction for the smaller units, so 550 to 1,100 liters per hour, approximately 27% decrease. And for the UPS 7 2200, we have even 55% decrease, so less than half the footprint of what we had before. We offer also the sizes from 550 liters per hour on with a variable frequency drive pump, so that you can save energy. There was a webinar on energy efficiency as well, end of last year. So there you can see how that is calculated and how quick you get a return on investment if you choose a variable frequency drive. Good. So this is a bit about the, let's say, the units that we have changed.
Yeah, references, projects.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And now we want to show you something interesting, some cool projects, right?
Yeah.
So wow. Some of these have been some time ago. Some of these are very new. So we try to choose some really different things. This is something that is a bit unusual, drinking water treatment. So here we have supplied a combined RO and NF, so nanofiltration unit, for a water supply company here in Germany, not far from our location actually. And we have 2 times 115 cubic meter per hour per minute production. So you see these are larger plants. And we have 80% yield. Of course, for these large plants, you really want to get a high yield. It makes sense. This is an RO and a nanofiltration because the water was contaminated with nitrate. So there's a too high nitrate content because of agriculture and so on. And you see here the raw water and the permeate values with German degrees hardness. So it is reduced to an acceptable hardness level. Mm-hmm. Because of the nanofiltration, of course, you still have some hardness. You want that in drinking water. You wouldn't want zero hardness, of course, because that would corrode the pipes. And you see that there's a reduction in nitrate so that we reach the threshold of the drinking water directive here in Germany. Yeah. So this was a very large project. I think we have recently, maybe last year, the year before, delivered new membranes after a long time. So this project is, this plant is still running very fine. Okay, this is completely different. Mm-hmm. This picture maybe you have seen already. It's in our price list too. So it's just because this is a really nice plant. We have done quite a few plants with similar characteristics, but I think this is by far the best picture. So this is a UP plant. It's a customized one. It produces boiler feed water for a steam turbine. And you see it's actually a small plant, 2 times 5 cubic meter per hour. That's a lot less than the previous one. But it has a very interesting technology, 2 RO lines, 2 membrane degassing or membrane contactor lines to remove CO2, 2 times EDI with an EDI recirculation even, and 2 times mixed bed polishers that you see in blue here at the back. And it has all piping in PP instead of PVC, and it's also controlled with a PLC. We measure silica with an online measurement here. That's this box you see in front. This is quite expensive to compare to, let's say, lab measurements. Very expensive, complicated. But of course, this is necessary because for the boiler, for the steam turbine, you want absolutely no silica. So this has to be controlled. Okay, case history 3. Again, a different area, very different. This is surface technology, automotive, car manufacturing. This was for a plant in Vietnam. Here, unfortunately, we don't have a good photograph from on site, but we do have the structure of the plant. So we have a pre-treatment here, a multimedia filter cascade, and we have a 25,000 liter per hour RO unit. And you can see also there's a big tank afterwards. Both of these systems are controlled with a PLC. And here the permit had to be free of these, in Germany, it's called LABs. In English, it's paint wetting impairment substances. So all the, let's say, materials that are used here that could generate any paint wetting impairment that could be problematic for the painting process have to be removed. So we do a rinse, we do a certification afterwards, so that it's absolutely clear that the plant is free of these low on these substances and cannot, let's say, cause problems for the painting process in any way. Here we have done also installation supervision and the commissioning support. I'm not sure if René was on site. I think somebody else was the happy one to go to Vietnam. But they had fun, I can tell you that. Okay, the last case history we have for you, and this is a very, very new plant, is a nanofiltration unit for cooling water. This is cooling water supply for a very fancy German car manufacturer. We're not telling you which though. And it's for testing facility and offices. So it supplies all the cooling water for this complex there. It's 2 times 20,000 liters per hour. And it has already a semi-automatic conservation of the plant during winter, because during winter, obviously, they won't need this water for the cooling towers. We had a very short lead time due to construction constraints. So they had to install piping there, and we had to bring in the plant before the piping, otherwise it wouldn't have fitted anymore. And now the plant is installed there, and it will be commissioned probably in autumn of this year. So this was to give you an impression of the things we do. There are a lot more, but yeah, we also don't want to bore you.
True.
We do want to have case histories available at some point also on the website so that you can download that. We're working on it, and at some point we'll have very, very nice references to show as well.
Yeah, that leads us to the last point, the last chapter of the agenda, the outlook to our upcoming sales training. So we want to dive much more into depth during the 28th of July for you, with you, to explain you what we're doing, what our unique selling points are with the standard products or these case projects, which Birgit just explained, tailor-made projects from scratch. Yeah. The idea is to have a 3 to 4 hour session. And it would be nice to know if you give us a comment on how we should structure it, if we should do 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. So we split it a little bit and have it not in a row. So I would really appreciate some input from you guys on what is preferable. This training, of course, is addressed to everybody working in sales, in marketing, as technicians. Everybody is welcome, interested in what our technology is and what our USPs are. The topics, of course, will be again reverse osmosis, how to select a system, and then, of course, the characteristics, the USPs of the different RO systems, and how to present it to your customer in regards of OPEX and return of investments calculations. That's the general idea from my side, but as always, we are depending on your feedback. What do you need for your sales process? So please really give us a hint, leave a comment so that we have, or that you get the most out of this sales training. And then we are already at the end of our webinar. We try to stay within 45 minutes. Now we used 55. Gives us the opportunity to answer one or the other questions, if there are any.
Exactly.
And then we only can say thank you for your participation.
Exactly. And yeah, really feel free. I mean, I think the July webinar, the sales webinar, will be a great option to have any questions that you have answered. So if you say, I always wanted to know how to calculate the return on investment for the KR, I always wanted to know how much money I can save with the variable frequency drive, I always wanted to know why you construct the plants this way and not that way, feel free, send us your topics. Send us an email if you want, or drop us a line here. If you think about it later, you can also send it, and we'll try to incorporate all the relevant things in the next webinar. We hope to see you all there, and more people.
Promote it within your organization too, right?
Exactly.
So we want to get the most out of it, a valuable webinar for you end of July then. Thank you very much.
Yes, we will be sending a link, but definitely, I think, invite everybody who was on this webinar as well.
For sure.
But,
and
also
Peter Spielebeen will be involved for sure.
Yeah.
So don't worry, news will get to you shortly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think there are no more questions, it seems. Then thanks for your time, and have a really nice weekend. Hopefully not as rainy as it is here.
Oh yeah. Thunderstorms.
Totally. We hope to see you back with better weather in July. Okay?
All right.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye then.